In 1323 BC, a messenger raced through the desert with shocking news. The young pharaoh Tutankhamun had died. This set off a high-stakes scramble to ensure that the pharaoh's tomb was properly prepared. Ancient Egyptians took the burial of their kings very seriously. For the pharaoh to reach his place among the gods, he needed to be mummified, placed in a grand sarcophagus, and buried with all the items necessary for his journey to the afterlife. If the pharaoh was not properly buried, it was believed that the world would come to a halt. The sun wouldn't rise, the moon wouldn't change, crops would fail, and life would end. Mummification was a lengthy and precise process, taking about 70 days. However, Tutankhamun's mummification appeared to have been done poorly compared to other royal mummies. Salima Ikram, a leading expert on ancient Egyptian mummies, discovered that Tutankhamun's mummy was unusual. Unlike other royal mummies, his had a large cut from his navel to his side, which was not typical of that period. This was strange because the quality of his grave goods was very high, yet his mummification seemed rushed. Ikram also found that Tutankhamun's body had no heart, which was crucial for his soul's journey to the afterlife. X-rays showed no sign of a heart, but it could have been hidden under layers of resin and linen. The embalming process involved removing internal organs, drying the body with natron, a mix of salt and baking soda, and then wrapping the body. However, Tutankhamun's body had started to deteriorate, suggesting that the mummification might have been hurried due to the circumstances of his death. The 4 gilded shrines from Tutankhamun's tomb are among the most remarkable artifacts discovered. These shrines, which encased the pharaoh's mummy in a series of nested coffins, were constructed with meticulous attention to detail. Each shrine is adorned with funerary texts and deities, and their assembly within the cramped confines of the burial chamber presented a formidable challenge. Despite the complexity of their construction, some of the cartouches on the shrines suggest that they were originally made for other kings, further supporting the idea that significant elements of Tutankhamun's burial were repurposed from previous reigns. The final stages of Tutankhamun's burial involved a large number of artifacts, many of which were hastily stored in the tomb's 4 rooms. This included a substantial quantity of items covered or made of gold, with over 2,000 pieces crammed into the annex of the tomb. The discovery of signs of hasty placement and the relatively disorganized state of the items in this room indicate that there was considerable urgency in completing the burial. In summary, the examination of Tutankhamun's tomb reveals a complex narrative of political and religious transition, the repurposing of artifacts from earlier reigns, the presence of items associated with Akhenaten and Nefertiti, and the hurried nature of the burial. Peter Brand, an expert on ancient Egyptian politics, noted that Tutankhamun's death plunged Egypt into crisis. The country had just lost a major battle, and with Tutankhamun dying without an heir, there was intense pressure to prepare his burial quickly. This urgency might explain why many of the burial items were repurposed from previous tombs. The Egyptian Museum in Cairo holds the 4 gilded shrines from Tutankhamun's tomb, which were essential for his journey to the afterlife. However, it seems these shrines were also repurposed. Some pieces might have been intended for other kings. Nicholas Reeves, a scholar from Oxford, found that the shrine's cartouches, inscribed names, had been altered, suggesting they were originally made for other pharaohs. The tomb's 4 rooms contained nearly 5,500 items, but many were found in a state of disarray, indicating that the burial process was rushed. Marianne Eaton Krauss discovered that some items, like a broken stool, had been hastily placed or hidden, hinting at possible theft during the burial preparations. The tomb's wall paintings, meant to guide the pharaoh to the afterlife, were unusually large and done quickly, suggesting a lack of time for meticulous work. One unique feature of the tomb is the depiction of the opening of the mouth ceremony, performed by Tutankhamun's successor, I, to claim the throne. In the end, Tutankhamun's tomb was completed with great haste. I, who succeeded Tutankhamun, ruled for 4 years before dying. Haremhab, the next pharaoh, seized power and tried to erase all traces of I and Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun's widow, Ankhesenamun, might have married I but then disappeared from historical records. Despite not being one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, Tutankhamun is famous today because his nearly untouched tomb was discovered. This tomb reveals the splendor of ancient Egypt and raises questions about what the tomb of a truly significant king might have been like.